Okay. Miserable. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. My name's Ellie Cortez. I'm an admissions counselor for the MSSW program at the Kent School of Social Work and Family Science. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are, going to talk a little bit about our MSSW program, our Master's of Science in Social Work. We'll go ahead and get started. So this is our admissions team, my fellow admissions counselors. So we have Daphne Arnold, who helps students whose last names begin A through L. And then I'm Ellie Cortez. I work with students whose last names begin M through Z. And then Valerie Miller is our associate director. So she handles scholarships and stuff like that and helps us with admissions. So that's our team right there. So you may have come in contact with us already or not, but that's us and we're here to help. So I'm going to be leading the session tonight, and I think Valerie is going to join me and maybe answer questions throughout the chat. But otherwise, we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end as well. So here is our session outline. So tonight we're going to start out by talking a little bit about social work. So giving an introduction to social work for those of us who may be new to the field, and just trying to still get some information about what you can actually do with the degree. And then we're going to do a little bit of an overview of our MSSW program, a little bit about the Kent School and some of, program requirements and stuff like that. I'll talk about practicum education. What is that? And details there. We'll talk about campus resources, and then I will talk a little bit about how to apply to the program and our admissions requirements, and then application deadlines, tuition information, and financial aid. And then, as I said before, we'll have plenty of time for questions throughout. So please feel free to raise your hand or throw questions in the chat. It's, we can be informal. With that, we'll get started. So what is social work? So a lot of people think of social work and they think of, caseworkers, maybe child welfare workers and stuff like that. And, that those are definitely social work jobs. They can be things that you can do with an MSSW degree. But there's so many other things that you can do with it. So we just like to kind of expand your understanding of social work a little bit. So the overarching goal of the field is to work toward improving social conditions and alleviating social problems. So you're trying to, solve society's issues. It's a big task, but somebody's got to do it, right? We're working with marginalized populations mostly because they're the ones who have been negatively impacted by these issues in our society. So you can advocate on their behalf. You can create social service organizations and programs that meet their needs. But the overarching goal is to improve social conditions. So working toward a more equitable society. And there's so many different ways that you can do that. The way I like to think about social work jobs is to think about the levels of practice of social work. So the micro level is what most people think about. It's the caseworker, somebody who works one-on-one with individuals and families to solve their issues right now on the ground. Like, what do we need? Connecting them with resources, stuff like that. That's micro level social work. But you can also be a therapist as a micro level social work worker, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Meso social work is more of working on a community level, so you're affecting change within your community. Working for a nonprofit organization, creating programs and services for people, educating people in the community about a particular topic. Being an activist in your community, working for a grassroots level organization, stuff like that. That's more meso social work. And then there's actually macro social work. So a lot of people don't think about macro social work. It's looking at the larger issues. So, instead of just working with a person individually to address their needs right now, you're looking at the larger issue. What is causing this problem for so many people? and how can we solve it? So you can do research as a social worker. You can do policy work, so work as a lobbyist or something like that. Trying to get better policies implemented, stuff like that. Advocacy efforts. That's macro level social work. And all of these things you can do with an MSSW degree. It's a terminal degree, so that means it's the highest degree that you need to do anything in the field of social work. So our program prepares you to do all of these things. And so this is just a short list of job titles you can have as a social worker just to get your mind flowing, and start thinking about different populations that you can work with. The degree is very diverse. So, I kind of say name the population and the capacity, and you can do it. You can do so many different things with an MSSW degree. You can be a medical social worker. So, working in a hospital setting, helping patients navigate their diagnoses, or the healthcare system and stuff like that. You can work with at-risk youth and after-school programs. You can work for the VA, working with veterans. You can work with immigrants and refugees. The possibilities are truly endless. So this is just a list to kind of get you thinking about what you can do as a social worker. So we like to provide some statistics for you from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this is just to show earning expectations for professional social workers, as well as job outlook. So we have some examples of median annual income for social workers, and these are nationwide. So where you are, it's gonna, and the sector that you're in within social work is gonna determine how much money you can make. But this can just give you a base level. These are medians, so right in the middle, what people make. So healthcare social workers or medical social workers are usually the highest paid social workers. So they can start out by making about $68,000 a year, national average. Educational services can be about 68 as well, 67, 68. Local government jobs, excluding education and hospitals, is about 66,000 a year. State government, excluding education and hospitals, is about 60,000 a year. And then local mental health and substance use disorder social workers make about 60,000 a year. So that can just give you an idea of what you might start out making once you graduate. And so for job outlook, 7% growth is projected, and that's actually really awesome. It doesn't sound like a lot, but 7% is really great. Some sectors even have negative growth, so there are social work jobs out there, and we really need social workers. So you shouldn't have any issue trying to find a job once you graduate, which is nice. The median annual wage in May 2024 was about 61,000 a year. So that's just a national average across the board for social work. So social work licensure, you might have some questions about how that works. Social work is a profession, so it has a code of ethics that you follow because you're working with people, human beings in sensitive ways. So there's a code of ethics that you follow, and because of that, there's an exam and a licensure component to social work. So in most settings, once you graduate, you will be expected to have your license. In most settings, there are some, depending on your state and type of social work you do, you might not need a licensure, but most jobs will require it. So once you graduate, you can sit for the master's level licensure. In Kentucky, it's a CSW or certified social worker. And our program meets the requirements for licensure in all 50 states. So if you're from a different state and you're in our online program, you will have all the educational requirements you need. And as well as if you're in Kentucky and then you move, you should be good to go. The only thing to think about is if there's practicum hours, check with your state board. We always recommend that in case there's extra practicum hour requirements and stuff like that. Those can vary by state. But as far as the educational requirements, you meet them with this program. And so there is an optional second licensure. That's the clinical social work licensure. So in Kentucky, it's an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker. And it can have a different name and depending on your state, but so that's the optional next step that you can take if you want to be a therapist. So you can be a therapist with an LCSW and provide therapy and have your own private practice and everything. So there are additional requirements, of course, after you graduate. So it depends on your state, but most states, how it works is once you obtain your master's level licensure, you can work under an LCSW for about 2 years, doing clinical work under their supervision. And then once you accrue your hours, you can sit for the LCSW exam. And then you have your licensure. So that's a great option for our graduates, and many of our students go on to do that. So it's kind of an alternative path to becoming a therapist that a lot of people don't know about. All right, so a little bit about the Kent School. So why Kent? The Kent School of Social Work and Family Science at U of L has been around for 90 years. So we just celebrated we're celebrating our 90th anniversary this year, actually. In 1936 is when our MSSW program was created. So needless to say, we're pretty well established. We know what we're doing. We're an R1 institution, so a Research 1 institution. That means that we have top tier faculty who, get grants, millions of dollars in grants to do wonderful, amazing, cutting edge research. So you're learning from the best of the best in the field. And so we are also centered in Kentucky's largest metropolitan city, Louisville. So if you're not from here or are interested in coming here, we of course welcome you to our little city. I'm biased because I'm from here, but I love it. It's kind of like a big city in a small town, there's always something to do, but everybody's still really nice and helpful. So yeah, that's a little bit about Kent and our MSSW program. So our MSSW program, like I said, is 90 years old. We are actually #1 in the state of Kentucky, and we are number 43 ranked nationally by U.S. News and World Report. So yeah, we're pretty well established and reputable. We're also, so our MSSW program is a generalist social work education. So it does prepare you to do anything in the field of social work. It's not necessarily like clinical focused or macro focused, but you can customize it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But in general, it's a generalist degree, so it prepares you to do everything. We're accredited by CSWE, the Council of Social Work Education, and we follow all those guidelines. And yeah, we have been for a very long time. So that's a little bit about us. We do have an online and an in-person program. So we do have 2 different options in our program. So we have advanced standing, which is the 30 credit hour program, and that's for students with BSW degrees. So if you have a bachelor's of social work degree or you're pursuing that, you would qualify for the 30 credit hour program. And your BSW degree does have to be earned within 7 years to qualify for the advanced standing. And then we have a regular standing program, the 60 credit hour program, and that's for people with bachelor's degrees in any other discipline besides social work. So as long as your degree is from an accredited program, you qualify for the 60-hour program. Just takes a little bit longer, but you end up with the same credentials and everything as a 30-hour student. And as I said before, we do have an on-campus program and an online program. And if you are in the Louisville area, you can take courses in both modes. So our online program is currently mostly asynchronous. We do offer some synchronous options. We're starting to more as our university allows it now. But most of our stuff is asynchronous. So that means if you're in an online class, you won't have actual class meeting times. You'll just have assignments that are due on specific days. We can do full-time and part-time rates to finish. We can actually start the program not only in fall and spring, but you can also start in summertime if you miss the spring deadline. So it's really flexible. The program is meant to be customizable and flexible for people who have full-time jobs and families and stuff like that. You can really go as fast or as slow as you want to complete the program. So it's very nice. We do have some ways to customize the program. So we do have some dual degree programs. So it's kind of like double majoring in undergrad. If you are an overachiever and want to get 2 master's degrees at the same time, you can do that. So um, depending on which program you do is gonna kind of determine how much overlap there might be, how much coursework will count toward both degrees. But so we have dual degree programs in couple and family therapy. That one is through the Kent School, so there's actually a lot of overlap there. So if you are interested in therapy and very interested in getting clinical experience before you graduate, the couple and family therapy program might be a really good fit, along with the MSSW. We also have a dual degree program of Pan-African Studies, Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies, the Juris Doctorate, so if you want to be a lawyer, the Master of Divinity, an MA in Healthcare Ethics, and we have a Latin American and Latino Studies graduate certificate. So that one is just a certificate. It's not a whole nother degree, but it's just a few more courses that are added on to your MSSW, and it's a great experience for people who want to work with Latinx populations. We also have some concentrations in the program. So in the program, you will have 3 electives, and you can either choose to do them in whatever area you want, or you can choose to concentrate and you can take your 3 courses in one specific area. And it can be, it'll show up on your transcript that you concentrated in that area. And it's kind of like a resume booster. So just adds to your resume. So you can do concentration in alcohol and drug counseling. We have gerontology social work, that's working with older populations, mental health social work, military social work, cancer and health social work, school social work. So that's if you want to work with students in K-12 school settings. And then forensic social work is our newest one. So that is working with the criminal justice system. And so, yeah, those are some options for you. You can do more than one concentration if you want. It might put you over a class. It just depends on which concentrations you do, but that is a possibility as well. All right, so in social work, there is a very important part of social work education called practicum. You may have heard the word before. If you're a BSW student, you've definitely done it. You've heard of it because you've done one. But the practicum experience is it's kind of like an intense internship that is built into the curriculum. So in the program, you will do a practicum at a social service agency in your area, working with the population that you're interested in. So, you'll work under a professional social worker. You will get on-site supervision with them, one-on-one conversations regularly, so you can learn from them. It's a really awesome experience. And so 30-hour students will do one practicum, but it's 2 semesters long. And then 60-hour students do 2 practicums, and each practicum is 2 semesters long, back-to-back semesters. And so here's a little bit more information about practicum. So your first year, if you're a 60-hour student, it's 450 hours total. So, it averages to about 16 hours a week. And then in your second year, your advanced practicum is 500 hours, so just a little bit more hours. And it totals about 18 to 20 hours a week. So, as I said before, a professional social worker supervises you. And most practicum settings, we want them to be in person as much as possible so that you can get, in-person experience working with clients and stuff. These are some examples of places that you can do your practicum. But again, the possibilities are really endless. These are just some examples to get you thinking. So, shelters for houseless individuals, alcohol and drug programs, immigrant and refugee services, school settings. So if you want to work with school children in schools, you would want to do your practicum in a school, um, and so on. So the possibilities are really endless. So how it works is um, once you apply to the program and are accepted, you will get paired with a practicum coordinator. So they'll reach out to you and they'll talk to you about your learning goals, and they will try to match you with an organization in your area that meets them. And we work with students all over the US. So um, it might take a little extra time if you're in a small town or something like that, to find you a placement, but we really try to help you as best we can, and place you where you're going to meet your learning goals. So you don't have to do it all by yourself. You will have a practicum coordinator helping you along the way. Along with a practicum coordinator, you'll also have an advisor. So our team is a little different, in that we have professional advisors for our students, which is really awesome. They help you register for courses and stuff like that. Yeah, they're awesome. So this is our advising team. We have Connie Koch. She helps students whose last names are A through L. And Wynobe Williams. He helps students whose last names start in through Z. And then Dr. Jennifer Foreman is the associate director of advising. So she helps them as well. She helps our students too, if you have questions. So they'll help you get registered for courses and do our new student orientation and stuff like that. So you will have lots of support in this program. We also have some other amazing campus resources that are completely free to students that we just like to highlight. We have the Counseling Center for students who need help at any time. We have a planned professional development office that's through the graduate school. They're pretty awesome. They do programming and services for grad students specifically. So they'll have, socials sometimes, to get to know other students, as well as like professional development opportunities throughout the year. We have a writing center that offers, they'll help you anywhere in the writing process if you need it. We always recommend the Disability Resource Center if you have accommodations that you need. Definitely reach out to them. They're awesome. And we have a career center that offers, resume writing workshops, um, job search workshops and stuff like that. They also help students after you graduate for up to 3 years, I believe. So if you, graduate and you do need help, they can help you find a job and stuff like that. We have the Center for Belonging and Access and Engagement. So they do identity-based programming and services. And then we have the Center for Military Connected Students. If you are military affiliated and have benefits or questions about that, their staff is really awesome. And we definitely recommend that you reach out to them and they'll get you situated with your benefits. Okay, so moving on to the application process. So some of our admission requirements are outlined here. So we don't require a GRE. You don't have to take that horrible, awful test. We do have a preferred cumulative GPA of 3.0 though. But that is just preferred. So we just have an additional requirement for students who don't have a cumulative GPA of 3.0. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But it's a pretty easy application process. We try to make it very easy. It's all online. It's one centralized application through the graduate school. There are 2 short essays that you have to write on the application itself. And then you will submit your transcripts from all the schools you've ever attended, even if it was just one class. Unfortunately, official transcripts from every school. And then we have a writing sample that's 4 pages. And it's just kind of a basic research paper, a little bit about your motivations for studying, but also another part of it is a mini research paper kind of talking about a social issue that you would want to address as a social worker. Just kind of demonstrating on a basic level your, understanding of academic writing. And then you'll submit letters of recommendation. So 30-hour students only need one letter of recommendation from a social work faculty member, because your second letter kind of needs your practicum evaluation. So your final practicum evaluation will substitute for your second letter. And so 60-hour students require two letters of recommendation. You'll submit your resume, and then there is a application fee. But we do waive it in some instances. So the graduate school will waive the application fee. For example, if you are a military veteran, or if you are participating in a government assistance program like SNAP or Medicaid, you can apply for a fee waiver. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much the application process. We do have an application checklist on our website that outlines all of this, that makes it really easy. And yeah, you can find it on our MSSW Kent website. And it includes all the information you need. So some tips and tricks for applying. So for letters of recommendation, they must come from professors or supervisors. Those are the two acceptable references. So if you have not been in school within 2 years, you can substitute the supervisor. So if you have been in school within 2 years, we do require one letter to be from a professor. So no personal recommenders. That means no coworkers or mentors. It can't be your academic advisor unless they also taught you in a class, and stuff like that. So basically, a professor or a supervisor are acceptable. The addendum is the essay that you will submit if your cumulative GPA is below a 3.0. So it's just a short essay that the admission committee wants to know more about what happened. Just be honest, what happened that you didn't achieve a 3.0 in school. But more importantly, they also want to see, strategies for success. So, what has changed? We understand, like, if you were much younger, you didn't take school seriously, stuff like that. Life also happens. So, if you had a life incident that affected your grades, you can talk about that. But just more importantly, it's like, what has changed and what strategies are you going to employ to maintain a 3.0 in the program? And it's not to punish you in any way. It's just to make sure that you understand that grad school is more rigorous than undergrad. We just want to make sure that our students don't fail. We don't want to admit you to you fail. So we just want to make sure that you're ready. And then we also take transfer credit if you've started from another graduate program elsewhere. We might consider that if it was taken within 3 years. So you can always just reach out to us if you're interested in transfer credit at our email address on here, mssw@louisville.edu. So application deadlines. So as I said before, you can apply 3 times a year. So fall, spring, and summer. Our application deadlines never change. They stay the same every year. So if you want to start in summer or May, your deadline will be March 21st. If you want to start in the fall in August, your deadline was July 1st. Unfortunately, it's passed. And then if you want to start in the spring in January, your deadline will be November 1st. But the thing to keep in mind about our deadlines is that they are late, so that we allow students to get in if they want to get in late. But we really encourage you to apply earlier. The earlier the better. Most of our applications are open. I think you can even apply for summer right now, next summer if you want to. But we just encourage the earlier the better, so that you can set yourself up for success, apply for funding, and all that good stuff. There's also application deadlines for the practicum placement that you want to think about. So the practicum placement process happens after you're admitted, as I said before. So you just want to make sure that you apply to the program with enough time to also apply to practicum if you want to do it your first semester. And these are their deadlines. So we do have the option a flexibility that you can do your practicum either in the fall to spring semesters, or you can do them spring to summer semesters. So if you miss the fall placement deadline, you can always go for spring, which is nice. A fall to spring placement deadline is May 15th for non-local students and June 30th for local students. And then a spring to summer placement deadline is September 15th for non-local students and October 30th for local students. And their deadlines are a little more flexible. They just say, they can't guarantee, basically. If you apply for practicum after these deadlines, they can't guarantee that they can find your placement, but they'll try. All right, so cost of attendance at Kent. Here's the tuition breakdown for our program. So full-time students, which is 9 credit hours or more in grad school, for residents is 7,767 a semester. And then per credit hour, which is less than 9 credit hours, you get charged per credit hour is $863 per credit hour. Our online program is per credit hour rate, no matter, what state you're in or anything like that. And it's $863 per credit hour. And so we're kind of giving online students, the in-person or the in-state tuition price, basically, per credit hour. And that's, no matter how many credits you're taking. There is a slight difference in how you're charged as an in-person or an online student. So we just encourage students to, if you're considering taking both online and in-person classes, just kind of talk to the bursar and explore their website and stuff like that before you decide which program you want to apply to, whether it's the online or the in-person program. But just make sure to talk to the bursar. So we know grad school is expensive. So luckily, the Kent School has some scholarships. We offer scholarships every fall and spring semesters. They are, we have an application portal, basically, that every time it opens, we will email all our newly admitted students saying, the scholarship portal's open, time to go apply. And so you'll have a window each semester to apply for scholarships, which is nice, and helps students who are starting in the spring, who may have missed the fall deadline and stuff like that. So it gives you more opportunities to get funding. We don't offer full rides, but if any bit helps, it's typically for students who apply and qualify. It can be, usually maybe pay for a class or something like that. So we have several scholarships. So yeah. Definitely encourage people to apply to those. There's also other funding options within the university, just not particularly with Kent. There's graduate assistantships. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of those yet. They can also be called GA positions. They're basically like jobs on campus for grad students, and they will oftentimes pay for your tuition and a stipend each semester if you're lucky. And those are awesome. Other offices on campus offer them. Kent doesn't have them, unfortunately, but we do have sometimes GRA positions, so graduate research assistants, where you can help faculty with their research projects, which is pretty cool. We have an internal website called Cardinal Careers that you'll get access to once you're a student. And that's where they're all posted. So you can go on there and apply to, a bunch of GA positions across campus if you want to try to get funding. So always fill out a FAFSA. We definitely recommend that. Especially if you apply for Kent scholarships, we require a FAFSA on file. So we also have an internship or practicum internship scholarship opportunity that we like to highlight through the Traeger Institute that's affiliated with U of L. The Traeger Institute, they have an optimal aging clinic, so it's for aging people in our communities across Kentucky. So if you are interested in gerontology or in behavioral health, this may be a really good fit for you to do your practicum. They offer $10,000 scholarships to students who participate in this particular program. It is for advanced standing students. So either a 30 credit hour student or a 60-hour student in their second practicum, they would be eligible for this. It's a pretty rigorous program from what I hear, but it's a wonderful experience for the students. So if you're interested in that, you would want to tell your practicum coordinator once you've connected with them that you're interested, and they will contact Trader for you. So we like to end by talking about exploring what you can be doing now to prepare to apply to grad school if you're still kind of thinking about it. Not quite ready to apply yet. Just ending with what can you be doing to prepare. So you can establish and maintain good relationships with your professors. That'll be important for letters of recommendation. You definitely don't want to just plug their information in the application and just expect them to submit a letter before asking them ahead of time, you know. So the more you can get to know them, the better. Beware of your cumulative GPA and try to keep it above a 3.0 if you can, if it's not too late. Take that 1 credit hour walking course if you need to get that A. And talk with people you know who have completed a graduate program. That's pretty standard for if you're doing something for the first time, never done it before. If you know somebody who's done it, they're a great resource. And specifically, if you want to talk to somebody who's done an MSSW degree, I know several. A lot of our faculty members have completed our program and they love talking to prospective students. So I would be happy to connect you to. Think about types of social work and practicum placements that interest you. So this is another way to kind of continue exploring whether you think social work is for you. But I also like to emphasize that you really don't have to know coming in, you know, you can always, your practicum and your classes will kind of give you an idea of what population you might want to work with, and or sometimes also who you don't want to work with. And it's all a learning experience, and the degree is so diverse, you're prepared to do pretty much anything. So it's not like you have to necessarily have a niche coming into the program. And you can set up a one-on-one with an admissions coordinator like myself or Daphne. We would be happy to help you answer any questions one-on-one that you have left about the program or the application process. That's what we're here for. So please reach out if you have any lingering questions after this. And so, yeah, these are our socials, the Kent School social. If you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, we, you know, are doing stuff in the community all the time. So if you want to follow us, that'd be great. And then I will just end with our contact information. If you have any questions, please reach out. I think Valerie's probably put our email in the chat several times. So we're here to help. Anybody have any questions right now?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. My name is Grace. And I did have a question that I wanted to ask, like on top of my head. When you were talking about the dual program, could that be done online as well?
That's a really good question. So it depends on the program.
Okay.
So the couple and family therapy program is only in person, for example. So you can do our portion online. You can always do our portion online, but the other program might just be only in person and stuff like that. So you just have to check with the program.
Okay. And where can I, like, was there a link for that?
Um, for each individual program, I'd say you would just go to their website at U of L, Louisville.edu. You can look at their each program.
Okay.
I think most of them, well, I'm not sure. Half of them might be in person and half online. So yeah, you just have to look
Okay.
up
I can.
individual programs.
Okay. Um, and also, regarding the practicum aspect, like the field practicum, so my husband is a military and we're currently stationed in Korea, like Camp Humphreys. And I was wondering like what your experience was like with like overseas US military bases and whether like they also do field practicums there, because we'll be here for a while, like at least the next 2 years, before returning back. And so I was wondering if you also had like any MOUs, like, um, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's really cool. Yes, so we have a lot of active duty military actually in the program, and many of them are doing their practicums on their base. So yeah, we have plenty of experience with that. Our coordinators are
Great.
very well versed with that, and yeah, it
Okay,
should definitely be doable.
great. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about that?
I had a question.
Yeah.
I was just curious about for the in-person classes. I was just wondering like what the class sizes are like typically.
That's a really good question. I would say they vary, but I will say our online program is obviously more full than, in person. I'd say, I don't know for sure, but I think that it can be anywhere from 5 to 20 students, I would say. It really just depends on the class. The generalist classes might be a little bigger than once you get into like electives and stuff like that, those might be a little smaller. But I would say probably not more than around 20 or so students.
I guess I was also wondering, with students having like being in the program and having practicums, do you find that students can also have like a part-time job? Or yeah, like what's the
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say yes. So most social service agencies, of course, are operating on the 9 to 5 schedule. So it can be hard for people with full-time jobs. There are, of course, agencies that work other hours that you can try to work out. But part-time is definitely more doable than full-time, I would say. So the practicum, yeah, is only it's going to be four semesters total while you're in school. If you're a 60-hour student. So it's not, necessarily every semester, that's something to think about. Um, yeah, and they can vary from like 16 to 18 hours a week. So, that's really up to you. It's really up to the individual student on how many classes you're taking to, um, and what other obligations you have. I'd say part-time is definitely more doable than, full-time. Um, and also what's kind of nice is you'll have, so 4 of your courses out of the 60 credits are like practicum courses. And those are, you don't actually meet regularly. So you'll just meet with your practicum liaison, I think twice a semester and do like a few papers, I think. So that one's not like one that you're gonna meet regularly. So that kind of cuts down on the load a little bit too. But yeah, so I think the part-time one would be doable, but it depends on the person.
okay. How I know it's 60 hours, but how many semesters is that typically if it's full-time?
So again, that's kind of a hard one. It really depends on how many courses you want to take each semester. And if you want to do summers. So if you're only taking 3 courses per semester, which is 9 credit hours, and that's the minimum for full-time, and you're only doing fall and spring, it would take 4 years. But if you go summers or you take, 4 courses a semester and stuff like that, it can reduce it more to 3. The average in our program is about 3 years is what people usually take.
Okay.
You can go faster or slower than that too.
Cool.
It's really up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also offer a winter term each year, so you can take one course in December and January. So that can also help, knock out a course. Yeah.
Did you say the classes were mostly asynchronous?
Yes, in the online
Okay.
program. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I
Thank
think
you. Mhm.
some courses are just starting to maybe do like 1 or 2 optional synchronous sessions each semester and stuff like that. But the coursework and everything like that is asynchronous. Right now.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions about that? Well, thank you all. I hope this was informative and please feel free to reach out if you think of something later, you know. We're always here, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.